Hello and welcome in.
Please do not leave your luggage unattended on the station.
Welcome to the show.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Off Court. I'm your host, Liv Moods, this time joined by Ruben. Ruben, how you feeling?
What's up, Liv? Thanks for having me.
We just came back from Ball Arena. Nuggets Media Day was today. We got to see Russell Westbrook for the very first time in some Denver Nuggets gear. That was pretty cool to see.
That was really nice.
I was excited.
He looked excited.
He looked excited,
He was like
and
the
we're
highlight of-
totally. I agree. That's absolutely the truth. He was the highlight of Media Day. There is very clearly an overwhelming excitement to have Russell Westbrook here from him and from the team. Is that kind of what you also felt?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there was quite a lot of people that talked today, but like I said, Russell Westbrook was the highlight of today. He even had a really hilarious exchange with DeAndre Jordan.
Yes, he did.
Because DeAndre Jordan came after Russell Westbrook, and they had like this hilarious exchange of I think they were talking about their UCLA days, and I don't know, I forgot where DeAndre Jordan, but I guess DeAndre Jordan lost that day.
So he had some back and forth, funny little jabs.
Westbrook had to remind him, like, "Hey, remember that time when your team lost against me?" That was a hilarious exchange, and that was really cool to see. So
Russ basically, like, once he was done, was supposed to leave and instead stayed and pretended to be a media member, asked some questions. It was pretty funny. And then, of course, as DJ is talking through the game, Russ is like, and who won that game and who lost? And, so they were poking fun, but it really did seem like Russell has already established some pretty good chemistry with some of these players. Obviously, Peyton Watson and him have been close before just from their time in LA.
Yeah.
Peyton Watson is from there, but Peyton Watson made it very known and very loud and proud, said, "That's my hero," when Russ was on the mic talking about,
had a big smile about it when he was asked about it. He was like, yeah, he's my idol, and I'm really looking forward to playing with him. And and you're going to be seeing both of them on the court quite a lot. They're going to be running that bench unit, and it's going to be cool to see, two dynamic players, and obviously one teaching the other, and one idolizing the other. And I mean, what's much cooler than that, than seeing young players get to play with their idols. That's really cool.
Yeah, and an idol that they got to watch growing up. And actually Russ was asked about that, like, what is it like to be around guys that grew up watching you? And his big takeaway with that was, it's cool, obviously, and I'm very excited, but more than that, there's an honor, and I think he knows that his job is much bigger than just playing basketball. He really is. Already we're seeing him be a leader for this team, and people are looking to him for advice, and I think he's going to be very, very helpful. We actually do have a clip that we can go ahead and play. Peyton Watson and CB were on the stage together. They shared the mic. They were asked similar questions and both got to respond. But we do have a reaction to kind of how CB, we know that Peyton Watson obviously idolizes Russ. That has been made very clear. But we do have a clip of CB talking about the importance of Russell Westbrook on this team. So let's take a listen at what CB had to say.
I think it's a little different for me because P grew up in LA, but I grew up in Kansas, which Oklahoma City was, the closest team to us. So that was really cool, growing up getting to watch him, his passion for the game, his tenacity, like, it's unmatched. You don't see guys, that play hard every single night, 82 games, as long as he has. So obviously, I got to learn from that. I got to take those things. I think there's a lot I can learn from him. So it's really cool that I get to play with him. Getting to talk with him has been cool. And then just even seeing the energy switch up for the one day, that we got to play pickup with him has been great, man. His energy's going to be really good for us, especially in the regular season, when we have ups and downs. I think that, he can hold guys accountable. He's a guy that people want to listen to because he's been in the leagues for so long. So not only me, taking things from him and learning from him will be good, but I think our team will benefit a lot just from having his energy and, having his leadership.
Energy was like the common word that I think was used when describing Russell Westbrook, was not necessarily who is he as a player, because I think regardless of what Russell Westbrook has done in the last 2, 3, 4 seasons that he's played, anybody with a brain in their head that actually knows the game of basketball knows that he is a phenomenal player with a wonderful resume and has done exceptional things for this league. But energy kind of kept being the reoccurring concept of what it's been like to have Russell Westbrook in the building, on the team, in practice, and just around. We just saw recently that they were all at the LA Rams game. They were hanging out with the enemy, LeBron James. I know. He's more of an enemy to the fans, I think, than he is to the actual players. But they were all spending some good quality time. And yeah, energy seems to be what they're most excited about him bringing.
And in that clip, CB kind of gave us a little bit of insight, of a little behind the scenes of like what happens during the offseason. For them to be working out together before, the season even starts, it allows them to kind of get a jump start on playing with Russell Westbrook and seeing what kind of player he is, how he plays. And immediately CB's like, oh, the intensity like went from like 0 to 100 immediately once we started playing pickleball. And that's that's a little cool little insight that CB provided us on that clip.
Yeah. And I think seeing them play in Abu Dhabi is going to be very telling. I think it's one thing to have practices and it's one thing to, bounce off of each other's energy, but to really see it on the floor and to see it really working its magic is going to be very important. CB obviously has a very large job ahead of him if he is a starter. He mentioned, he mentioned spending his off season really getting in reps and keeping his body healthy. Those were the two things when both CB and Peyton Watson were asked about what they were doing in the off season. They really talked about obviously working on their shooting. That is a big concern that people have about CB is, he's got these great defensive moments. He's pulled up and been very clutch for this Nuggets team in the postseason when it matters most. But the shooting, the 3-point shooting, this team collectively needs to get better. Coach Malone started the day by saying, if Jamal Murray can hit one more 3 in a game, if MPJ can hit one more 3 in a game, it's going to matter and it's going to make a big difference. But I think then you throw CB into this starting lineup after losing a 3-and-D guy like KCP. There is going to be a little bit of pressure on CB to keep bringing that defensive hustle that he has shown even off the bench, but also to maintain those threes that we know KCP was pretty lethal with when he needed to be.
Yeah, Malone mentioned that it was more of like they haven't been taking high volume of threes, and I think that was the big concern last year, and he talked about it again this year. Is like, if Jokic can take one more 3, if Murray can take 2 more 3s, MPJ can take 3 more, I think is the volume of things that he's looking for. And maybe we'll see more of that this year, and maybe we'll see the Nuggets attempt a little bit more, allow a little bit more better spacing, because it is going to be a concern this year. The 3-point shooting, it was a concern last year. Now you lose KCP. How's that going to look? MPJ is your best 3-point shooter. He's not. I mean, he's very good, but there's stretches where he kind of cools off a little bit. So that's gonna be a little bit of concern.
And we're gonna get into Jamal Murray. I've got some strong feelings about Jamal Murray at Media Day today. I should start by saying I love this Nuggets team. I love Jamal Murray. I love the culture that this team has. I felt a little some type of way about Media Day for Jamal Murray today, and we'll get into that. I still want to focus a little bit on Russell Westbrook here, because that is kind of, honestly, that was the biggest takeaway, was what does he look like in this? I think it's also worth noting that Dario has a very large role that people are very excited about. Aaron Gordon specifically, out of all the people we listened to today, he specifically said, I think people are going to be surprised at what Dario brings to this team.
A little bit of the forgotten dark horse, like, we got the news that he signed, and then all of a sudden it got blanketed by 2 weeks later, Russell Westbrook, and he's kind of forgotten a little bit, but hey, he's coming off an injury.
AG made sure to remind us though. He was like, we're going to see his minutes increase as we're trying to, alleviate some stress from Nikola Jokic's shoulder, and also just the hustle that he plays with. AG was very, very specific about his impact on this team. But back to Westbrook, there were obviously rumors circulating in the offseason about Nikola Jokic going to the front office and, showing interest and expressing interest in acquiring Russell Westbrook for this Denver Nuggets team. And when Michael Malone was actually asked that, he didn't confirm or deny. He didn't deny and say, no, that never happened. I think it was actually Calvin Booth that we heard from, where he didn't confirm or deny whether or not Jokic expressed interest in having Russell Westbrook, but he did say, we all wanted this. This was something that we all wanted. We were all, we all had our eyes set on Russ from, the beginning of the free agency and the offseason. So he didn't deny it, though. Maybe there was some conversation that Jokic had with the front office that just said, hey, I've got a relationship with this guy, because they both touched on that separately about each other, was the relationship that they had. And when Russ was asked about the relationship, someone said, where does that come from? And he's like, we're just two competitors, it's almost like they have that same level of respect for one another. So it naturally created a relationship there, which you have to admire that a ton.
Hey, maybe, who knows? Maybe Jokic is calling Westbrook up. He's like, hey, I'm coming for your triple double stuff.
Right, maybe.
The competitive spirit
Actually,
of them. We're like, hey.
Russ was asked about that. Somebody said, have you guys talked about the triple double race, the race to the triple double, title or whatever? And Russ said, no, we haven't talked about it because we don't really view it as a race. I think they now are able to join forces, where at one point, when you are competitors, it's always cool to be at the top of the leaderboards or to have the most triple doubles or whatever it may be. But now they're able to join forces. And one of my favorite responses from Russell Westbrook today was when asked about the difference in playing with Jokic versus playing against Jokic. And he had a very funny response when asked about playing against Jokic. And he said, good luck. Like, he's just, he actually called him the greest player in the world. I will throw that in there.
It was something to do with scouting. Like, what do you tell, what do you tell scouts? How do you defend Nikola Jokic? And he straight up said, good luck.
Good luck with that.
And everyone just kind of laughed it off.
No, it was perfect.
But it was a good answer. Like,
it was.
Good luck.
Yeah. So we've heard the whisperings about Jokic showing interest in Russell Westbrook, but we do have a clip actually of Russell Westbrook kind of explaining what made him interested in Denver. What was the draw to play for a team like the Nuggets? So if we've got our producers back there, we do have that Russell Westbrook clip. We can fire that up for you guys so you guys can take a listen to what he had to say. I don't know if anybody's behind the board there.
Russ, what made Denver a destination that you wanted to end up in this summer?
Just a culture, looking out, from outside looking in. Team has always been at the top of the Western Conference. Always in the hunt to win a championship, always play the right brand of basketball. I'm always, at this stage of my career looking to play the right way regardless of the wins or losses, understanding that playing the proper brand of basketball allows everyone to kind of get involved, allows the team to grow, and also allows you to be able to win at the highest level. And the Nuggets, has been doing that for years, and I'm grateful to be here.
And we're grateful to have you, Russ. I think we're all very excited.
Answer.
Yeah, it was a very awesome answer.
And it's nothing new with the Nuggets organization. Like,
no.
Players that have been through this organization have, once they left the Nuggets, they talk about this exact same thing of the culture, playing unselfish basketball. It's contagious. And he himself said it, outside looking in. If he's outside looking in thinking, hey, Denver's a really cool destination, imagine what other veteran players of his caliber or even close to his caliber, season after season, Denver's it's a destination now for NBA players or for players that are seeking their first ring in Russell's case.
And honestly, that was another conversation that was had. I believe it was with Coach Malone, where he talked about, the only thing missing from Russell Westbrook's resume is an NBA championship. That's the only thing missing. And that's just one extra thing to show just how impactful he's been on the game of basketball. And so I think we often as sports fans have recency bias and short-term memory. And I think for some things, that's a very good thing. As a Broncos fan, short-term memory is a very important thing. Otherwise, you will go insane and your head might fall off of your shoulders. So I get it. Short-term memory is not always a bad thing. But I think with a guy like Russell Westbrook, it's easy to look at the last couple of seasons that he's had with toxic Los Angeles franchises. Both of them, and assume that, he's washed. He's not going to bring anything to this Nuggets team. Good luck with that. That's my favorite thing I hear about Russell Westbrook. Good luck with Westbrook. No luck needed. I think that this Nuggets team knows exactly who they brought on, and they know why they needed him. And energy. Again, he just talked about his leadership and his energy. And basically he said, whatever coach needs me to do to win games, that's what I'm going to do. And that's a very selfless mindset to have as a longtime vet that is at the top of the leaderboards and triple doubles. There's not a world that you could ever say Russell Westbrook is a bad basketball player.
No, or a bad teammate. I think he's gone such a bad rap over the years, especially these last 2 years where both LA teams, he's gotten kind of a bad rap from the media, creating like these weird narratives. But you ask his teammates, you ask, coaches, like he's all about loyalty of where he is at that point, that point in time.
He's invested.
So if he's invested with every team, imagine what type of outcome he's going to have with this Nuggets team, where he's he looks locked in already. So pretty excited.
And by the way, he was specifically asked about being one of the polarizing players in the league, I think is how it was worded to him. And his response was basically, if they're not saying anything about you, then you need to worry. The booing and the thing, like, I think that just fuels him. And I think that motivates him a lot. And we saw that with another Nuggets player in Jamal Murray. Now, I started at the beginning of the show talking about some beef that I maybe have with Jamal Murray. It's not beef at all. I love Jamal Murray and I have the most respect for him in his game. And I think what's very difficult about Jamal is that he sets his own standard so high, right? Like there is obviously an expectation for Jamal Murray to be great. But every time we think he's reaching his greatness, he elevates the bar. He raises it himself. So then that becomes the standard. And so when that standard's not being met, there is obvious frustration by fans, by sports bettors. It doesn't matter. But whoever's watching the game, consuming the game, and or a fan of this team, when the standard that he himself has set has not been met, it can be a very frustrating process. Now, we know Jamal Murray has been habitually injured. He has battled injury throughout his career. And he was asked today about how he's feeling about his injury. And I'm going to play the clip. We're going to play the clip. And before I even give you my thought process or Ruben's thought process on Jamal Murray's response to this question, just take note about the body language, the energy, and we'll take a look at this, and then we'll break down what we saw from Jamal Murray at Media Day today.
Jamal, sorry to be the guy to ask, but how are you feeling physically, or is there going to be any limitations to start this short training camp?
No, feel good.
That's it.
You guys, when I tell you there were 8 minutes of nothing, Jamal Murray spoke for 8 minutes and said nothing.
Yeah,
he said words, but
short answers.
Very short answers. And here's, I guess, where I struggle, right? There is a natural element of competitiveness that these athletes have. And competitiveness can look very different for every athlete. Yeah. When we saw LeBron James toss the mic and Anthony Davis get up and walk out after losing, a lot of the fans took to defend them and say, they're just competitive. They've got that hunger. They didn't like losing. They didn't like having a buzzer beater. Anthony Davis didn't like having Jamal Murray embarrass him basically in the final seconds of the game. I get that. However, Media Day is a thing you do every single season. You also know that you're a max contract player recently that I think a lot of people would argue, was that deserved? Now, that's not really for them to decide. The front office, Coach Malone, the Nuggets organization as a whole decided to sign Jamal Murray to a max contract. That was the decision. We move on. But to have a max contract after a not so max contract type season, and then come to Media Day and give the people nothing. By the way, Denver media are the media members that will have Jamal Murray's back the most. We are on your side. We are on your team. Yeah. And it felt like every single answer from Jamal Murray was very dismissive. It was very irritated. It was very unenthusiastic. And I think that is the exact opposite of what Nuggets fans need to hear out of Jamal Murray's mouth right now.
To kind of defend Jamal Murray, and some of it is on him because the whole throwing the towel thing, he got grilled when that happened. And I think him giving short answers is part of that, of not giving the media too much to talk about or too much, to harp on or twist his words here and there. Of course. It's almost like he kind of learned his lesson, but now it's like, we're all kind of past that. And so should you.
We've moved on.
We've all kind of moved on, but it seems like this is just kind of who he's been. To me, Jamal's always been like a very short answer type person, and it doesn't surprise me, honestly.
It's not entirely surprising, and I think the short answer part is not where my concern really stems from. It's from the fact that as fans, because that is what keeps sports alive, right? That's what keeps sports thriving, is the fan bases that pay the money to be at the games and to watch and support and whatever. At the end of the day, Jamal Murray doesn't have to care about fans, but he should. He should, because he is the same fans that I think give him a hard time and hold him accountable are the same fans that are the first to defend him in the public eye when things go wrong. Like there is an element of being an athlete of his caliber that I think if you want to be named an all-star, some of this stuff, you've got to just fake it till you make it.
Yeah.
You got to play the game. You've got to learn how to talk to media members and give them what they want. At least give them some. It just felt like we were given absolutely nothing, no questions in media day today that Nuggets fans have had since the end of last season. And then you add Paris onto that, playing for Team Canada. None of the questions that Nuggets fans so desperately wanted answers to, we got. They were all asked, but they weren't answered. There was no substance to his responses, and that is fine. But my problem is I expected him to maybe skip in there a little bit more peppy with a bigger smile on his face, considering he just made a lot of money that I don't know if everybody believes he deserved to make. I think there should have been an ounce of, I'm thankful to be here. I'm thankful to be in this position despite being in. Listen, the only reason people were asking about the injuries is they're genuinely curious if you're good.
Yeah.
And his response was very, yeah, I'm fine. Like almost like, why would you even ask that?
Yeah.
Well, hello, we asked about your injury because you're constantly injured.
And also, he didn't look very good at Team Canada. Like,
hello.
I mean, I understand it's like a new dynamic and everything like that, but he still kind of looked a little bit slow, kind of like how he did
very much
in that second round versus the Timberwolves. He just a bit step slow, and it just But again, it just, I don't know if this just kind of who he is in general, but maybe a little smile here and there wouldn't have hurt. Just
and again, I think I also have the other perspective of I was expecting that energy from Aaron Gordon, who went through a very, very traumatic offseason and was dealing with a lot. And he arguably gave the most substance in his answer and had a smile on his face while talking about his teammates and what this team has meant to him in light of all the things that have happened to him recently, to his family, to the tragedy of losing his brother and that transition and getting, you'll never get back to normal.
That's what I love about AD.
He had great answers.
He's just got this very I don't know. He's got like such a different aura that
it's all about the aura. That's exactly it.
It's almost like if you were just hanging out with him, it'd be like he was just calm you down for whatever reason. Because
I agree.
He just has like this very likable persona. And he gave like really insightful answers today about obviously changing his number and what that process was like. Apparently everyone in his family wears number 32, so it was just like an easy transition for him to just go from 50 to 32 and in honor of his brother, who may rest in peace.
Absolutely. We have a clip actually of Aaron Gordon, because as I've talked a little bit about this right here on this very show about the impact that Jamal Murray's contract may potentially have on Aaron Gordon's. Here very, very, very soon, the Nuggets are going to need to start having some serious conversations about how to keep Aaron Gordon in Denver.
Would like to get paid.
And AG he deserves to get paid. I'm sure he would like to get paid, but he actually would really also like to stay in Denver. We have a clip of Aaron Gordon talking about his potential contract coming up, renegotiating that, hopefully keeping him in Denver. So let's check out what he has to say about all that.
I really love this organization. I love the players on this team. Love the coaching staff, so I hope we get it done. Seems like it's moving forward in the right direction, so I'm excited. I'm excited, hopefully, to be extended and stay with this organization.
In Denver, it is mandatory. It's mandatory. You've got to figure it out.
He's been crucial to
massive.
Since even on the years that Jamal Murray was injured, it was him and Jokic, and the two-man game that him and Jokic have developed. Like, why would you mess with that? Just get it going, figure the numbers out, and keep him here. He's Mr. Nugget. He's the man of the people. I would love to see Aaron Gordon again, walking shirtless through the crowd.
Oh my gosh, we need it.
I need another clip of that. So
I agree.
I think that'll be awesome. And
absolutely.
And he seems as invested as the Nuggets are in him, and
100%.
The Nuggets have shown that they're willing to pay players and invest in them as well, and show them that confidence in money.
Yeah,
and
Calvin Booth was also asked about Aaron Gordon pretty early about what that process is going to look like. Are you going to be able to keep? And he said, we're already having conversations. It is obviously a priority. They seemed like they were optimistic that they're going to be able to figure something out. Aaron seemed that way, and so did the front office, even down to Coach Malone. So it's just my hope that they can land on something.
Hopefully they get it done probably in the middle of the year once they kind of start figuring some stuff out and they kind of start seeing a little bit ahead.
Yep.
But the sooner the better. If you can get that extension done sooner, I think that just eliminates any distractions. And that's exactly what the Nuggets need. They don't need any distractions, any side talk. They just want to, right now, your championship window is, as Calvin Booth said, as like a 5-year window.
Yeah. With Nikola Jokic, he felt like we were halfway of Nikola Jokic's 10-year prime. He feels like we're at that halfway mark where we've really got to maximize. Yeah.
So that was get it done. Get it done as soon as possible.
Got to get it done.
Sounds like it's going well.
Honestly, Coach Malone, couple other little takeaways that we heard from Coach Malone. He said Julian Strawther was in the gym every day this season. We've already seen Russell Westbrook kind of building some chemistry and some relationships with his new teammates. It was really, really cool to see him in a Denver Nuggets jersey. I really enjoyed it. Nikola Jokic, per usual, not the biggest media day member. I actually think we have a funny clip of Nikola Jokic.
The annual microphone incident.
It perfectly just describes and shows who Nikola Jokic is when it comes to media day. So we'll play that really quick before we wrap things up.
It's not work.
He just is so like harmless and funny and it's so great. But again,
they didn't do him any favors there. They had to
no, they didn't.
He was like, whoa, wait a minute.
How do you feel about the facial hair?
Oh, if he can keep it, that's kind of cool.
I like it. I do like it.
He looks a little scary. Even Chris Marlowe was like, hey, that's a little bit of intimidating. Are you willing to keep it, to kind of keep that menacing look to kind of mess with players? And he was like, I might not keep it, but
I would love it.
I think he likes it.
I do too.
I mean, quite a long time now.
He started. I think he started to kind of get a little bit of it in the postseason with just some like scruff, and then at the Olympics, it was like, he had it. He's rocking it, and now it's like
he's maintained it because it's a little shorter.
I think he's got to keep it.
I kind of like.
I think we're entering a new era of Nikola Jokic. Yeah. So we heard from all the starters. MPJ, he honestly to me had the most like well thought out, but very non-emotional answers. It was just very much like business oriented. He had, he spoke about things that you would hope he would speak about, which is what did you work on in the off season? Yeah. What are some things that you hope? And he is actually, to me, the only player that touched a little bit on the exhaustion of last season and kind of
and
how
a little
that
bit of Game 7, how they're kind of still thinking about it a little bit.
Yep. Because actually Nikola Jokic is the type of player where oftentimes, and he said this today, he doesn't think about Game 7 and then help use that as a motivating factor for the upcoming year. I think Nikola Jokic is the type of athlete that does think with short-term memory. He's like, it's over, it's done, let's move on, let's get to the next season. Whereas MPJ was like, yeah, no, I do hold on to that because there were things that we should have done differently. I think we were gassed. I think we were wiped out. And actually, Calvin Booth made a little jab at the in-season tournament as well, talking about how,
they exerted a lot of energy.
He just felt like this team was very tired this season. And he's like, I'm not sure the in-season tournament helped all that. And so again, not an excuse, but I do think that fatigue definitely played a role in how the Nuggets season ended. But again, that takes me right back to, I think they lacked energy. And the one word they used to describe Russell Westbrook all day long was energy. He's coming off of fresh legs. He's got this he doesn't have last season looming over him. There was not high expectations of the team that he was a part of doing much in the postseason. Yeah. So kind of nice.
This whole Westbrook edition, it kind of reminds me a little bit of whenever we got Bruce Brown.
Yeah.
It kind of reminds me a little bit of that. It changed the dynamic of the bench. It changed the dynamic of the team a little bit. And it added some juice, right? Yep. Because it was fresh new faces. And when you're repeating, obviously you lose Bruce Brown, but it was still the same players. And so when you add an energetic guy, not just energetic, but like just full on competitive,
aggressive. Yes.
I think it's going to really change the dynamic of not just the bench, but just the overall team, because it seems like he's got such a loud voice, but also he plays with such a loud like demeanor that it's just infectious. And to have like an unselfish player like Russell Westbrook, and then also an unselfish player in Nikola Jokic, I think it's
a great combo.
It's going to be a nice, perfect little storm of just creating problems for opposing teams that they just didn't expect.
Yeah. And I think that we'll end with this because just here in a little bit, we've got my bestie Nate Jackson with Dumb Jock going live right here in the Guerilla Sports studio. He's right here looking at me. So we'll wrap up with this. I do think one other thing that I took away from Media Day today was that what we saw from the championship run to last season to me was a little bit of comfortability. Naturally, I think when you win a championship so convincingly, there is an aspect of you that gets a little bit comfortable. Yeah. Coach Malone made a point to say, we found ways to get ourselves uncomfortable in the offseason, to challenge ourselves a little bit. And I think when you throw a longtime veteran like Russell Westbrook into the mix, it will come with challenges. There will be a little bit of a moment where we've got to figure out what that dynamic looks like. When you've got a Jamal Murray that didn't have a great postseason and is battling injury, that will pose challenges. When you're throwing a young guy into a starting lineup with guys that have played together for seasons after seasons, that will have a challenge that's attached to it. So I actually think it's good for this Nuggets team to get a little uncomfortable. I think that's where we're going to see them really put their foot on the gas, find different ways to elevate themselves, because you have to remember this Nuggets team was the best version of themselves when they were doubted and underestimated. Yeah. And now I think with all the new additions and the changes and the this and the that, they're kind of back in underdog mentality. Yep. And I think it's a good place for them to go
chase it again.
And I know Jamal Murray, he does thrive very well in the villainized era of himself. And maybe that's what we saw a little bit at Media Day today, was him just kind of keeping a lot of stuff internal so that he can just put his money where his mouth is and show us.
He seems to play better whenever he's kind of doubted.
God, I hope so.
And I hope that plays into it. Because,
I do too.
You know, the championship year, it was like, oh, is he going to come back good or not? And so that, you know, it's going to fuel him. And so hopefully he learned his lesson of keeping his cool and just being that type of cerebral player that we've come to know from Jamal Murray. And hopefully he gets some all-star consideration. You know, it's been on the books for 2 years now.
Yeah.
Last year, it was all about, you know, before he got injured, how is this guy not an all-star? That was like the talk of the town, and then he gets hurt, and
this might be his moment,
and then it's recency bias all over again. Yep. So hopefully that kind of helps him out, get himself going again.
Agreed.
And hopefully we see a much improved Jamal Murray this year, because we need it.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Well, we appreciate you guys for hanging with me. Ruben, thank you for jumping on with me. Media Day was so fun today. Cool. Ruben and I will be collaborating a lot throughout the Nuggets season, because he will be back and forth from Ball Arena to the studio, getting us our sound bites and our clips. And him and I will collab on this show here as well, podcasting together and just breaking down all things Denver Nuggets. So thank you for joining me for today's off-court episode live here right in the Guerilla Sports Studio. Bear with us as we get closer to the NBA season. We'll get a little bit more of a confirmed, this is when you can expect off-court every week. But obviously, we may kind of be flexible with this just based on what the Nuggets are giving us from a media perspective. So bear with us, but thank you for tuning in. We'll have more interview clips from Media Day today being pushed out throughout the day. So make sure you're liking, commenting, subscribing, following Guerilla Sports and GS Off Court on all things social. I'm Liv Moods. This is Ruben, and we will be back very soon with some more episodes of Off Court. See ya.
Adios, amigos.